there, rednecks, preppies, redneck preppies. It's me, the Redneck Preppy. How you doing today? Great. Good. Just a friendly reminder that I can also be found on Odyssey and Rumble. Links are in the description below. Now, according to Greek mythology, Sisyphus was the king of Ephyra and managed to cheat death not once but twice. Now, I think a man should be rewarded for that level of cleverness, but apparently Hades does not have a sense of humor, so he sentenced Sisyphus to an eternity of rolling a large boulder up a hill every day. But just as the boulder reached near the top, it would inevitably roll back down. Now, in modern times, Albert Camus posited that Sisyphus must have embraced the absurdity of his existence and actually been happy with his sentence. Friends, with the ongoing series of the Redneck Preppy Rages at Bubba Guns being a Sisyphean sentence, I can tell you that neither the Ephyrean king nor your humble preppy is in fact happy. That said, let's try rolling this boulder up one more time. Okay, we'll start off easy. Up until recently, this beauty could have been yours. This was spotted on Gunbroker, home of all the best firearms deals, and is a lovely custom rifle in .308. Now, this rifle prompts many questions, and I'm not sure I have answers for any. I understand painting a rifle green for hunting purposes, but this shade does seem an odd choice. What was done to the butt doesn't appear to have any utilitarian purpose. I guess we can be happy that the person responsible for this left the iron sights on. At least you can aim it. I hope whoever won this on Gunbroker is a very happy person today. Iraq has been a cursed land for many years now, and someone there decided they hadn't suffered enough. So they took an AK and bullpupped it in some weird attempt to turn it into a FAMAS, and with wood furniture. Now, I'm not going to go over why I hate bullpups so much. They have their defenders. Fine. But taking a perfectly good rifle and doing this to it makes no sense to me. Pray for Iraq if they allow haram things like this. What would an episode of this series be without at least one SKS-45 gracing your screens? We have a doozy today. So many questionable choices have been made here, it reminds me of an alcohol-fueled night of my youth. You have yourself an aftermarket stock, well, mostly because they left the original upper handguard in place. Its creator decided to glue on a fake M203 grenade launcher. Then, to top it all off, an optics mount that promises nothing better than a cheek weld if you actually want to make use of it. Look, I get that SKSs are the Rodney Dangerfields of the milsurp world, but man, there's got to be a place in hell for all of the bubbas who've done things like this to them. Where goes the SKS, so too does the humble Mosin Nagant M9130. Now, at first glance, you're probably thinking, this isn't so bad. What's the Redneck Preppy's problem, man? Well, use those analytical skills, friends. The aftermarket stock is what it is. Fine, whatever. But regard that scope and where it's mounted. If that's anything but a very low-powered scope, good luck maintaining a sight picture through it, assuming you can even get one with your head so far back. And you've ostensibly tried to make a rifle more accurate with that stock and scope, so then you mount a bipod attached to the barrel, which will undoubtedly affect harmonics. And hey, why not toss a muzzle brake on there too for good measure? Man, it was a lot of work and money to turn a marginally accurate rifle into a marginally accurate rifle. Well done. Our next one simultaneously confuses me, but also makes some small sense. Pakistan must have a lot of Lee Enfields hanging around, thanks to their history and also proximity to India. But I'd wager that they find .303 ammunition a little harder to come across. The solution? Convert your rifle to a caliber easier to find. Now, for Lee Enfields, that used to mean .762 NATO, not 5.45 by 39. Yes, the AK caliber. But some enterprising Khyber Pass Bubba took a perfectly good Lee Enfield and turned it into a rifle that shoots 5.45 and accepts AK magazines. Now, honestly, I'm partly impressed by this. But then I remember that finding actual AKs in that part of the world is like looking for the ground. It's not exactly hard to find one. You know, it used to be that the SKS, Mosin Nagant, and maybe Lee Enfield were the only reoccurring characters in this series. But man, lately the MAC-10 just keeps popping up. And we have ourselves here a MAC-10 that used to be chambered in God's favorite caliber, 45 ACP of course, that's been lobotomized into this AR build. Look, I get it. Macs are a relatively cheap way to get into the fun switch game and have been molested into builds for years. It still makes me sad, though, to see a bit of American firearms history. I mean, for God's sakes, it was introduced to the world in a John Wayne movie. Came to this sort of end. It must be unpleasant to shoot, given that kind of weird angle that the trigger and hand grip are sitting at, though. I guess it is what it is, I suppose.
But wait! There's more!
Oh, yeah. If you thought we were only going to stop at one Mac being abused, you've now been disappointed. This one annoys me even more than the last one, only because of the utter lack of imagination of this bubbing. All they did was add a few AR parts to an existing machine pistol and called it a day. And not even good AR parts. I think I've owned multiple rifles that came with that exact same cheapo buttstock, and each case, that thing was tossed aside and replaced by a decent one within hours. Anyway, this is the less entertaining style of Bubba job, only due to its utter lack of imagination. Speaking of reoccurring victims, Soviet-era submachine guns have appeared in the past few episodes, though it's usually the PPSH-41. Bubbas don't discriminate though, my friends, and someone decided that their PPS-43 also deserved the tender mercies of Bubba. Now, I'm not going to lie, the PPS is probably one of the ugliest submachine guns ever created, but it's still a historical piece that saw action. To screw it up by welding a pick rail on the front for the sake of whatever that optic is bad enough. But to graft on an AR-style butt tube to add a polymer buttstock is nothing short of reprehensible. I'm honestly beginning to think that perhaps firearm ownership shouldn't be universal. You honestly look me in the eyes and tell me that someone who did this deserves to own firearms at all. I don't even know what's going on here. It's like walking into a serial killer's shrine to his past victims and trying to process all of the horror at once. Every part competes with every other part in escalating the nightmare. The vertical foregrip that's made impossible to use by the bipod, that terrifying weld job, the unusable scope. I could keep going on, but I feel like I'd end up in Buffalo Bill's basement pit trying to understand what's happening. An Eli Roth movie isn't as nightmarish as this is. And here's another one. As a milsurp guy, I feel like I should know what this is, but I don't know if this is some kind of homemade submachine gun or a once legit example that's just been Bubba to the point that it's unrecognizable. I got questions, I don't have answers. Whatever else is happening, the standard welded on pick rail with the crap ACOG is there. You know what, no matter how much the stories change, we always know that the garbage pick rail and optic will always be there. Thank heavens. Now here's a special one, and I'm not being facetious. During the writing of this script, I caught a video on Garen Guy 2553's channel, check him out if you haven't already, where he was shooting a Moss 36 for the first time in his life. I was envious because I've never had the chance to own one. Well, that very same night, I came across this monstrosity. Yes, someone came across this fine French rifle and just went to town on it. Delivered a beating like Edward Norton curb stomping someone in American History X. Don't believe that this was once a Moss 36? Well, here's the side of the receiver to prove it to you. And while we're here, let's admire that fine job adding a, yep, you guessed it, Picatinny rail. I love the fact that someone was so forgetful or stupid that they literally had to gouge into the side of the receiver what caliber round this rifle fires. And even this bolt handle. Look, man, I don't care what you think of the French military in World War II. This rifle deserved so much better than this. It almost goes past Bubba into just wanting to watch the world burn territory. Hold on, friends. We got another one. And this time it's an AG-42B that some droob decided would be better as a bullpup. This one actually got me so angry I was going to make a standalone video about it, but as I got about 1,000 words into the script, yeah, I'm not kidding, really, I just stopped. I couldn't process anymore. Yeah, I mean, yeah, the custom stock, it's okay on an amateur level. It's obviously not a professional job. You have that optic mount grafted onto the side that they couldn't even been bothered to try and blue to match the rest of the metal. And there's your proof that this was an AG-42B if you didn't trust your old preppy pal. Man, I hope whoever owns this doesn't fire it left-handed, because the side of their face, or left eye, is going to be eating that bolt handle. And don't also bet on that handle being an effective shell deflector either. Such a great rifle that was obliterated to be turned into this abomination. Just as Egypt's Rashid followed the AG in real life, so too shall it here. Not a lot of Rashid rifles were manufactured by that country. In fact, less than 10,000. So let's take this cool, rare rifle and absolutely butcher it and turn it into whatever the hell this is supposed to be. Now, look, as everyone who's watched this series for a few episodes, or even this one, knows I hate bullpup rifles, but I may actually hate Bubba jobs with thumbhole stocks even more. First, I hate how ugly they are. Second, it always seems like the Bubba is attempting to, class up his work by using one. It's a blow upon a bruise, to steal a line from Evil and Wah. It's an insult on top of another one. I'm never going to own a Rashid only because of their rarity, and some joker took one and did this to it. Yeah, it's a foul. And yeah, someone added, wait for it, a Picatinny rail. Not to be outdone by all the other Bubbas who do the same. They all went all Island Dr. Moreau on this thing and bred the rifle with an M16 to get that handguard on it. At that point, that $5 knockoff bipod almost seems the least insulting thing to have done to this. I actually carried a FAL while in military service. We called it the FNC-1A1 here in Soviet Kanakistan. And I got to admit, I had no great love for it at the time. Heavy, limited magazine capacity, semi-auto only, and not exactly well equipped for dusty, sandy environments. That said, as ambivalent as I was about that rifle, even I wouldn't do something like this to it. Okay, let's bring this in for a crash landing because this is frankly becoming too much. Our last victim of the day was once a Mosin Nagant M9130, one that proudly served the Rodina during the Great Patriotic War. And then one day it fell into Bubba's hands and they did this. Slap on a few AK grips, and you know what? This isn't the first time we've seen that, by the way. Plus some garbage tier red dot. Wonderful. We've also got a customized buttstock and whatever the heck you want to describe that was done to this barrel. Fine, you wanted a meme gun? I guess you got one. Sometimes I think games like Fallout were the worst things to happen to military surplus rifles. Okay, I think I've done enough for today, and this boulder is frankly getting very heavy. I'm sure even Sisyphus had his days where he just bagged it out of frustration. At any rate, I hope you found today's video to at least be vaguely entertaining and mildly informative. As always, I hope you never do anything to a firearm that resembles what you've seen today. Take care, and bye-bye.